Hi.
Hi, it worked.
That was perfect. Thank you. Oh, look at you. You're like set in the summer land, and I'm like, ooh, winter snow.
I was like, is it snowing in Nyack?
No.
I didn't think so. Oh my gosh, so funny, right? Oh my word. Yeah.
Good to
So
see you. I love your digs over there.
thanks.
You have champagne chilling for us?
What's that?
I said you have champagne chilling for us back there.
Something like that. I I'm like, I think I need a couple new backgrounds.
Yeah,
So
I'm digging that.
so I went, I Googled, of course, as I always do, and I think I uploaded like maybe five or six new ones, and this is one of them. Isn't that water amazing?
Gorgeous.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
I
Yes, please.
know. I actually got a little teary because beauty just like it always makes me emotional. I just love looking at beautiful things and seeing a beautiful view and oh my god, there's just nothing like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love knowing that about you, that you
Mm,
actually get teary. It's like the
yeah.
reverence of paying attention
It
to
is.
life.
It's all about the reverence. It really is cuz it's so much more than us. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm doing pretty well. My nephew had his last game today.
Hmm.
So they finished up their regular season last week, and then they had what they call senior night. What is today? Wednesday. Okay. So I think they had senior night on Sunday. I don't remember, over the weekend.
Yeah.
And they won that game, which was really awesome because it was their last home game this season, senior night. And so they invited the seniors to come and watch them play, which was so cool because they
Mm.
haven't had a live, crowd the whole season. I know. So it was awesome that they had, seniors there and they won, so that was exciting. And then today they had their first game of this tournament and they had to win or they couldn't go on and they lost. So
Mm.
I was feeling a little sad because they played at Madison Square Garden.
What?
I know.
Is this real? I'm
I
having a hard
know.
time believing that.
I know. I was like I was I worked all day and I was thinking about it, and I kept like getting really I'm like, "Oh my god, they're like I can't imagine as an 18-year-old walking into that stadium and being like, "I'm going to play ball here today? Are you kidding me?" Right? That's just that's so remarkable. So anyway, um they played against Georgetown. They didn't beat Georgetown in the regular season. I kind of was like, maybe, and they didn't. They didn't beat them, so they're done for the season. Which I'm feeling a little nostalgic about it. Like I feel a little sad. I'm like, because it's been, even though I don't know everyone who is watching his games, I know that people are out there. Because even I have friends who, and I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but I have friends who, when he was in the process of picking his college, they were like, they were so like they've never met him. They don't know, and they were just so excited. They wanted to know where he was going to go. And then when he would decided on Marquette, they like my friend Robin bought her husband a Marquette t-shirt.
That's awesome.
Oh, I know. Isn't that the sweetest thing? And so they've watched every game this season. And yeah, so we're always like Robin and I will text during the game, and it's very sweet. And so it's
Hmm.
been nice having that camaraderie and that connection
Yeah.
throughout the last few months. But yeah, I'm doing, besides that, I would say I'm doing well. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense though. It makes sense. I think sports are something I didn't realize how unitive, how
Yes.
uniting it can be,
Yeah.
um, in building community, right?
Really?
And it
Yes.
makes sense to be like, oh man, the end of the season means that particular excitement, that particular banter, that particular energy for now is falling dormant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I only know it because, Richard enjoys many sports. And
Uh-huh.
like I notice he'll like when baseball season's over, he'll kind of be like, there'll be and it's real, it's like, oh man, this thing that I've been
It is real.
engaged in, enlivened by, um, uplifted through is over. That
Yeah.
totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
So how are you? And what's happening with you and your life and
Thank you. I'm well overall. Taking good care and sort of just enjoying a lot of the things I've dreamed about. You know, the podcasts and the speaking engagements and all these like wonderful ways that I feel I can serve more people.
Mhm.
Um, and then what I know is happening is while like the spirit is rising, while like there's good news happening, there's like old wounds coming up to be healed
Mm.
at the same time. I think they
Mhm.
go hand in hand, at least in my experience. It's like, here comes the joy, here comes the expansion, and here's the stuff that's like still stuck on you a little,
Mhm.
that can't
Mhm.
come with you,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're lifting off, some baggage has to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the universe is delivering some some real experiences. I had a situation last week where I felt really missed by two friends, like really just could have been a
Mm.
fluke, whatever, but I shared kind of vulnerably and they both kind of looked at me like I was a little crazy.
Mm.
And so that hit an old wound of
Mhm.
like not only am I not being seen, but I feel like I'm being judged. And that just doesn't happen in my circles very often,
Right.
So I had to sit with like, did I misread that? Was I being oversensitive? No, I actually think there was a misattunement there, and not
Mhm.
a malicious one, but just a misattunement.
Mhm.
And then the grief that came up of probably every time in my historical nervous system that someone didn't get me and didn't see me, and I realized, wow, it hurts to not be seen, but damn, it hurts more to then be like to be seen and then be judged, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
thought not being seen hurt, but there's a whole other
Yeah.
liability in sharing and not being seen well.
Mhm.
So I had to work through that. That was
Mm.
heartbreaking for me.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of my own emotional debris. I certainly don't want to put the blame on like other people. People can trigger you.
Sure.
There's a whole lot underneath the tip of that iceberg
Yeah, there is.
that was with me.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
mine. So I feel blessed on the other end of that wave
Yeah.
to be like, oh gosh, I didn't know I was carrying that, and I get to like rinse that clean for
Mm.
myself. Yeah. Yeah, and similarly, Sunday, Monday I had another like little domino of triggers, and I'm glad to be self-aware enough to go, "Oh, okay. I don't think I'd react this much if I didn't have a bunch of stuff unprocessed."
Mhm.
So, they're coming in waves, and I think the piece I'm holding is like, oh, yeah, I can't carry this with me where I'm going, and that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I signed like a speaking engagement contract, meaning like I will be held by, I want to say an agency. Can't quite know exactly the container of the business, but that like people will soon be able to find me, book me to speak on shadow work, on relational skills, on communication skills. I'm going to do high performance habits because I geek out on that. And so in signing that, like, yes, I'm stepping into being a public speaker, all this stuff came. So
that's exciting.
yeah.
Really exciting. Yeah.
So just holding my heart a little bit these days of like, okay, this is part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that things are going to rush up to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're ready. Like they wouldn't rush up if you weren't
That's
ready.
so true. That is so true. Yeah. Yeah. And I love the way that I love the words you used when you talked about cleansing. Like, why, the washing away of and the cleansing of these things that are in your life. And in order to move forward, you've got to leave them behind.
Yeah.
That's so key, and good on you for doing the work that you've done, the awareness work and the healing work, because not only would it be hard to move forward, I probably could pretty assuredly say it would be nearly impossible to move forward in the way that you really want to.
Yeah.
Like with intention and with clarity and with self-assuredness. It just wouldn't be that easy. Yeah, that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
If there's one thing I'm learning, and I feel like I'm at the very beginning stages of an entrepreneur, but if there's one thing I'm learning, it's that every time there's momentum, right? There's up leveling, there's expansion. It's requiring more emotional mastery.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, I don't want to call it the game, but it's like it feels to me like it's more of an inner growth and transformation game.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much more emotional mastery do I need for the next level?
Mm-hmm.
For like the badassery to be unlocked. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's a next level. There's a next level. And so I'm looking at it through that lens of yes, there's things I need to learn in terms of how to do a website or this or that. But if I can tend to my emotional world with some mastery,
Mm-hmm.
the rest can actually take care of itself from that place.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Does that resonate for you in your life?
100%. 100,000%. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I talked when we spoke a little bit on Monday. I shared with you that because we spoke in the evening, didn't we?
I think so. Yes, we
and
did.
I talked about my phone call with that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So so I've had 48 hours to, between now and then and now to kind of just let it sit and digest and kind of let things shift and move and do whatever they need to do. And what I'm aware of is, and for me, an old wound has come up. And it's interesting because it came up maybe a month, like I'm a month ago as a memory. And I remember saying to myself, I don't want to deal with this right now. Like I literally said those words out loud. I'm going to put it on the side. I don't want to deal with it right now. Well, it's come up again. And I'm like, what is it that so I'm immediately going to, what is it that I need to do to take care of this, to heal this or whatever, to figure out what. And because there's some learning in it. I don't know what the learning is, but there's learning certainly from this. Um, and I feel like I'm gonna need some support with it. It's not something that I really want to work on with myself. Um, and so I'm, again, sitting with it, like pausing. And that pause can really be challenging sometimes, but I'm just like, it is time to pause with this, Heidi. There's no rushing through it. There's no need to rush through it. Sit with it and be with it, and let it just sort of simmer. And it's okay. You're not going to die,
Yeah.
Um, it hurts, but I'm not going to die from it. And I think I do need to tell myself that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it feels the pain feels big.
Yeah.
The wound feels really open and like it can just fester, and I'm like, that's where it is, and I'm going to feel into it, and it's not as raw as it was when it happened, but I'm like, okay, I will be okay, and it's time to work on this. So it's interesting, you talked about the expansion, and then a wound, something comes, and I'm like, yeah, it's really true. It happens every time,
Yeah.
every time. And thank God for the awareness work that we've done on ourselves, because I will speak for myself. If I had not done the work that I've done, I don't know that I would have the foresight to be able to say, okay, I need to clear this before I can move on and really take in what I heard on Monday, and really receive that in a way that needs to be received for me to move on to this project, to Project Mitzvah. Yeah, there's just so much, and it's all really important.
Mm.
Yeah, really
Feeling a
important
lot of
stuff.
tenderness, just feeling really tender in my heart, knowing,
Mm,
you're talking about like a wound that's painful, that's
yeah.
hurtful, and that you're taking care of yourself and having your own back in the midst of it, right?
Yeah.
And then the most, I think, impressive piece to me is knowing you need support.
Oh, oh, okay, thanks. I
You
didn't
know,
really, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
of being
I
like,
didn't really think about
oh,
that, but yeah.
I think a lot of people go, okay, I'm going to solve this on my own, and it's possible. And I'm like, whoa, when you were like, oh, and I know I need support with this. I know I
Mm,
don't necessarily want to do this on my own. The
mm,
clarity of that feels really impressive, is not the right word. It feels big to me to be that clear that this is one you don't want to go at alone, you know? Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and I hear that, and I would also add that maybe 10 years ago I would have attempted to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Um, because I have learned what I've learned, and had a lot of experience with support and without support, and really know that with support life is just easier. I have no desire to do it without support. It's too effing hard. Like, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it will force me to be vulnerable and to share what's happened and to share the experience and all of that. And I would much rather do that than try to do it by myself.
Yeah.
That feels way harder and much more painful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for noticing that, because at this point in my life, I'm just like, if I have an option, I'm always going to choose to do a support.
Yeah, and I think it's important for anyone even listening who may be in a certain a similar situation where they're like, okay, I'm just going to soldier through this, to even be like, oh, and there's the option of support. Like, oh, cool. Because I know for me, sometimes I can be in a little bit of denial on my own
Mm-hmm.
personally. It's like that thing happened last week with the friends, and I was like, oh, that was kind of weird and sticky and crunchy, and you know And then as soon as I saw a group of women who I'm in circle with, I felt the hurt in their presence, and I cried that, like, wow, no one led with curiosity or empathy, and like how painful it was. But the like, I don't know, 20 hours between it happening and that call, I was like, it's kind of weird, but like there was a denial piece of like, only in connection did I feel how much it actually hurt.
Yeah.
And that happens for me a lot. I'm much better at co-regulating than the self-regulating piece, and people are different that way.
Right.
But it's happened to me enough times that I kind of think I'm fine, and then I see someone who I know cares about me, and I'm so not fine.
Right.
So I notice that's a blind spot for me.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're seeing the comparison. It's like a comparison. You're seeing one thing, which is very different and feels different here, and over here, things are completely changed and different.
Yeah.
And you can feel the love, and you can feel the care, and you can feel the reception of
Right.
you into someone's heart. I mean, that is, yeah. I
Oh, yeah.
really get that. Yeah.
It's healing, it's reparative. Even having that group of women be like, oh, it makes so much sense to me that you feel that way.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense that that's what knowing your history, what I know of you, that makes sense to me.
Right.
Was so healing from sort of like, like you said, the opposite, which was like, okay, and it's like,
Yeah.
I think the deeper piece, that is the grief too, is like, okay, now, as someone who's a communications coach, do I address this? Do I cough it up and clean it up? Or is this more of this is where I'm pausing? Or is this maybe not the place I want to put my energy?
Yeah.
Right? And the
Great
power of
question.
that pause,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. But it's happened so many times in my life that I'm like, I'm okay, I'm fine. And then in the arms of someone who loves me, or in the safety of someone who cares about me, there's way more emotion than I might be tapping into.
Yeah.
On my own, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Really feeling that.
And changes in the air, right? Like the weather. Apparently, a friend of Richard said that like the seasons in certain cultures are broken up into 12, and I'm not quite sure what culture she was talking about. We're going to find out. But that right now we're in the bug hatching season.
Interesting.
So instead of it just being like winter, spring, right? That there's like other demarcations
Sure.
in cultures to be like, oh, there's actually stuff happening from winter to spring. There's actually other little happenings.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's always stuff going on below the surface. In whatever regard, there just always is. Yeah.
Yeah, like mid-February, at least on the East Coast, like the sap starts to rise in the trees. So even though nothing's happening for like 2 months, behind the scenes, like the sap is rising. Things are starting to get into play.
Yeah.
Spring. And I did see some bugs fluttering about. I'm not ready for mosquitoes, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm like, I'm not ready for you guys. I have to find a remedy because they seem to love me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's been nice not to wear a coat. Yeah.
It's been really
great. How are you enjoying the changeover?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I was out yesterday, I was out today, And it was just like you said, it was just nice to I went out in a sweatshirt and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What's happening?" Like, I can't believe that I almost felt naked because I wear glove like, the one of the first things that always gets cold is my hands.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people who wears gloves pretty early on in the fall because I have arthritis in my fingers and I my hands get really cold. So to not have a coat on or gloves, and I'm just like, gosh, this is so great. Because it's bundling and zipping and put it's just layers. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. The
And then to be
lightness.
out and about and walking and oh, it's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like people seem to be happier and in a better mood. Just it just kind of lightens everyone's load a little bit, you know? Because I think
It
we all
does.
feel bogged down with heavy clothes and whatnot. And with the warmer weather, things lighten up and clothes come off and yeah, there's just change, as you said. Yeah.
I'm with you. I feel like there's already the heavy load of this year.
Mhm.
And then there's like the heavy physical load of all those layers. And then there's
Mhm.
the heaviness of like, oh, we're stuck in the house together and not like on the balcony or,
Right.
all these things. And I remember towards, I'm going to say maybe July or something, I remember being like, oh, the pandemic's easy right now because we're not yet,
Yeah.
at 20 degrees, trapped in a house,
Right. Right.
not getting enough sunshine, all of that stuff. I was
Mhm.
like, it's easy right now because you can be out till 9:30 and you can be outdoors and distanced and feeling safe and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of turning the clocks coming back around to
Yeah.
a little bit of even not just physical freedom. What's the word? It's like less anxious
Mm.
energy
Mhm.
collectively too, a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it's simmered down a little bit, the anxiety in people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, because I think we're turning the clocks ahead on Sunday.
So we'll have like it'll be light till like 7:30.
I know. I'm so excited. So excited about that. Yeah, it's awesome.
I feel like it's a surreal thing. I mean, it happens every year, but for some reason this year it's like, wow, okay, like we got through the winter. It feels extra.
It feels like we've really accomplished something big.
Yeah, like a winter in a pandemic. Like winter
Oh,
is hard on people as it is.
yes.
For some
Mhm.
populations, myself included, like there are tougher days for me in like February, March where I'm like, oh, I'm over
Mhm.
this. And then to do it for the first time collectively in a pandemic, I do think it's a huge accomplishment. I really do.
Yes. Like for those of us who have made a choice to like really work hard and get through it, like I want to say I survived winter 2021 cuz I did.
There's got to be a t-shirt. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And to
Yeah.
look at each other, to look at your neighbors and be like, whoa, we survived. Like, we're here, we're resilient,
Mhm.
not that there isn't the hardships of it, because there certainly are.
Mhm.
And like, look at the human spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm, important stuff. Yeah, that we really need to give ourselves credit for. Yeah. Mm.
I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like people think they're kinder to themselves than they really are. And I mean that by like they beat themselves up more than they think, and they don't praise themselves as much
Oh, yeah.
in that
Mhm.
regard. right? It's like, how often do people just sit with some self praise or celebration versus like the next thing?
Right.
Like, even
Right.
that I think of as like the power of the pause.
It is.
You know, how have
Yeah.
I grown this week? How have I grown this last month? Like,
Right.
taking time. I
Yeah.
remember having a mentor at the Presencing Institute once say like 25% of your time should be celebration. And I thought he was crazy. Because I was like, we ain't got time for that. Like, we're busy. And I was working at a nonprofit that was in social justice in the Bronx. So, like, everything was urgent, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to catch what he was putting down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
take the time to celebrate, to integrate
Right.
before you move on to the next thing,
Right. Right. Yeah.
you know? Otherwise, your life becomes a bunch of like to do lists
Right. Yeah.
instead of actually feeling your day and feeling your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do I want to really miss life? No. It's too important. It means too much
Mm,
to just move on to the next thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Back to the reverence,
Back
right?
to the reference. Yes. Back to the reverence.
Yeah.
To
How
notice and to pay
sometimes,
attention to those things, give ourselves credit, give at least appreciation. It's
yeah,
all really important. Yeah.
yeah. I notice like to me, I can do that in spades in terms of like you were saying, beauty. You know, we still have the sparkly hearts on the Christmas tree that became the Valentine's tree that now we're not sure it's still here. Um, but like in the morning, the ruby red sparkling hearts in the sunshine,
Hmm.
gorgeous. And the morning lights got this kind of golden hue at sunrise. And I'm just like, wow, you know, this is so simple.
Yeah.
It's so marvelous. And it brings me a lot of joy every day
Yeah.
to see the light touch things,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's
Mm.
in the house, just to see it like touch the bamboo and then kind of touch the coffee, you know, kind of add a little amber tone to the
Mm-hmm.
coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed I get anything done, frankly, because I'm really enamored with life like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. I think that's a beautiful part of your humanity.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really mean that for sure.
Hmm.
So sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think it was one of my favorite things when Richard and I first started dating was he would let me stop to sniff the flowers on a hike or
Oh,
look at a leaf or to up at a tree or touch the bark on a tree or whatever. Like he was never impatient. You know, if anything, it helped. He'd say like, "Oh, it helps me presence."
yeah.
And he'd stop and look at the flower or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like when someone's letting you be you instead of being like, "Come on!" Like the whole point of this
Right.
hike was to get to the summit
Right. Right.
or whatever, you know. Versus like, no, I think the whole point of the hike was to enjoy life.
Right. Enjoy the
Whether,
journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was one of those moments when I was like, okay, I dig this man because he's not rushing me. If anything, he's attuning to that being worthwhile to
Mm-hmm.
stop and, you know, smell
Mm-hmm.
the flowers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. That's so sweet. It is. It really is. I love that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I pulled a few questions.
Okay. I feel like we're doing Mad Libs or something.
Um, and I think I'm going to go with this one.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. Okay. So, what is the furthest below ground you've ever gone?
I'm gonna guess because I'm not sure of like depths really, but I'm gonna guess the Luray Caverns in Virginia. They're like caves below, I think. Because I've never been like in a submarine or anything, so
Okay.
you know, yeah, I would say the caverns, the like under parts of probably the Shenandoah Mountains.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. What about you?
I think I'm pretty sure it's the salt mines in Salzburg.
Mm.
Um, we were there. We were there. Well, we were in Europe twice on skiing vacations, and I think it was when we went in 80. I want to say 86, and yeah, we were in Austria, and so part of it was sightseeing and part of it was skiing, and I didn't know what to expect, and I couldn't have expected what I experienced. It was really kind of amazing.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and I mean, if I recall correctly, it took us like a good 12 to 15 minutes to get all the way down into the base of the salt mines. It was really kind of incredible. Yeah, and it was freezing cold, freezing cold. Yeah. But to be like that far into the earth, I was like, oh my God, what is, like, what is this? What an amazing, it was like one of, what do they call them? The seven uh,
Natural wonders.
natural wonders of the world. I mean, it's not one of them, but wow, it was really incredible. Yeah.
I'm just
Very cool.
taking in like to walk down for 12 to 15 minutes to be in that mode of like I'm still going lower.
Well, we didn't walk. We were put in like I call it a gondola, but it was like an elevator. So we weren't walking. It was like we were in this, I guess I would call it an elevator.
Hmm.
And it was a machine taking us down. So it wasn't like we were just walking pace. This thing was like moving pretty quickly. So we're talking like 12 to 15 minutes at a pretty good rate. So it was really deep into the core of the earth. It was
Holy
incredible.
cow.
Really
Yeah, that gives me a
incredible.
whole different picture because I'm thinking, okay, like you're walking down steps 10, 15 minutes, and that's still a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah,
What do you
I
think
know.
the depths were? Like what,
What do I think? What?
like the depth was?
Ah, I don't know.
Thousands of feet
I would
below the
guess.
earth? Yeah.
I would guess. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was really something. Really, really something. Very cool.
Mm,
Um, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty incredible.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the coolness resonates with me too because I know in the caverns, like, you're fine, you get in there, and I was a kid, so I don't remember like all the nuances, but I remember being like, wow, we're like in here and it's chilly and just everything was a marvel. Like all the stalagmites, the stalactites, um, all the like crystally things that were growing,
Mhm. Mhm.
in front of us. Um, and places where water kind of came through. Just all of it was like, this is all happening while we're just
Wow.
going to school, like
Right.
living
Just
life.
everyday life. This is what's happening below the earth. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
Of
that.
course. Yeah.
I'm curious, like on a esoteric level, because I like to go there. Like, what are the depths, the deepest depths you've gone to? in a spiritual
Oof.
way?
Um, hmm. First, I would say that I feel like the longer I have with someone, like if I'm reading someone,
Mm.
the longer the amount of time I have, and also based on their energy, I can go pretty deep. Um, and what's really cool is when we're speaking in the same shared language and we're really vibing, and like it's almost as if what's happening for me, they can put words to. That that. And I don't even know what to call it. I I don't. I just know that I like, you know how you geek out on your stuff? That I geek out on. I'm just like, what? And I used to try to put words to it or try to, and I'm like, I can't, and I'm not going to because it just ruins the moment for me. So I just really take it in and feel it and allow, because typically a lot of emotion comes up because it feels like I'm really being held by Holy Spirit. Like it feels holy and sacred because it is holy and sacred. And I know that I've entered another realm of myself, of spirit, of everything. And yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. And also when I am when I'm connecting, when I have a really clear connection with someone that I can't really say I have to know them well, but someone who's crossed over, um, that there's just nothing like that either. It's pretty incredible. Um, and yeah, it's again, the words aren't important because they escape me anyway. But it's otherworldly. Yeah, it's otherworldly for sure.
I always feel like the words aren't big enough
They're not.
for spirit, for what's, it's like words are man-made, and it's like it can't
Right.
hold spirit as best we can, but it, like, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, I love that. It's like in your service, in supporting someone and reading for them,
Mhm.
getting to, I don't even say sink in. It feels like you just gotta get more access to what's available.
Mhm.
It's probably there in some way, but you're connecting to it.
Yeah, and with it comes an expansion. So I I just automatically expand when I'm in that space anyway, and hopefully the other person can feel that and knows that that is what they need to do to have to be able to receive the information a little, more clearly. Um, and also for the information to come, the information will also come through a lot easier if we're both expanded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even though they're not necessarily receiving, sometimes they can receive information, but if I'm the one on the receiving end, and I'm the conduit, and I'm just simply, sharing the information. But if we're both expanded, it just flows a lot easier. There's a lot less effort.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's cool. Thanks for taking that question.
You're welcome.
So I was like, oh, depths, depths.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. That's something, right? Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Mm. I love that stuff.
I do too.
Yeah. Um.
Hmm. It's good to be with you. I feel the
Likewise.
exhale like in my whole body.
Mm.
The laughter, the levity, the depths, the authenticity, like all of that just feels safe to me.
Mm.
Like that's how I experience safety
Mm-hmm.
in relationship, you know,
Yeah.
transparency and flow. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
So how's your work week been?
Ooh. it's been it's been busy with really good things. So, having the meeting about speaking engagements and teaching the kids music. They're doing Pink Floyd, which is really trippy
Oh
because
my God.
I didn't listen to Pink Floyd growing up. I was more of a Doors, you know, Bob Marley, kind of like if
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of like 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, like, I'm hearing it with fresh ears with them. And they're kind of like, what the hell is this? On many occasions. I'm like, I get you, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And, it's their program, it's the show they're going to play. So that's sweet. And then coaching, just, it's that same thing. Like, I feel fully funded by the presence, so to speak, when I'm supporting and serving in that way. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
expansion you talk about comes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then teaching, the coaches in training, they graduate in 2 months. So they're in the like end,
Yeah.
you know, and they're deepening their understanding. They know they're getting launched out into the world to serve, and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did a podcast yesterday with a friend about just sort of the value of living a life according to your values, to your highest priorities and values, and the neuroscience behind that and the fulfillment behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just been geeking out all over the place, basically.
Sounds like you have. That's great. Yeah.
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 And it's tax season, so there's a little bit more on the finance side
Mm-hmm.
that needs tending to with I don't like the word deadline, but with like priority,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
for the accountants. So there's like that little world that has to be done too, and yeah, and then I get to do this, so feels
Yeah.
pretty damn good for a work week. I actually did a funny thing. I went to March of last year on my calendar
Oh. Mm-hmm.
because I was just kind of curious what it looked like because I know my life was very different then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easily 30 to 35 hours of finance and like a client here, a client
Mm.
there, um, and schoolwork, right? Like schoolwork for the coaching certification. And then I clicked back to today. You can hit just the today. You can time travel. And it was like client, client, student, student, client, coaches and training, client, finance, like the
Yes.
growth you can see on your calendar
Yes.
if that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was so clear. Like what I had wished for a year ago is online now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took a lot of, I was going to say vision, but it was like trusting the vision. Yeah.
I love
So it
that.
feels good. I feel like I'm in
Yes.
harvest season in my life,
Yeah.
and still planting seeds too, but just I can see the first harvest of at least the career path. Many a harvest elsewhere, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How about you? I know it's only Wednesday, but how has your work week felt?
Yeah. Um, so I think that Janice and I, once a week, and now more recently, we've been meeting twice a week to do witness meditation, and I keep a meditation journal every time I do it. Yeah, because what we do is we check in. We have a Zoom meeting set up. We do a check in, and then we meditate for 20 minutes. And whatever comes through in the meditation, we write it down and then we share it with each other. And there are a million and one synchronicities. It's really lovely. And it's no surprise, but it's just the way the universe works. So, anyway, we've been talking about turning this into a book. And so I started typing, I just started typing it up, I don't know, a couple months ago. Talk about growth and change. I don't even know what to do with myself. So good. So good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I just finished 2019 and I'm about to start typing up 2020 because I don't typically go back and you look at, I mean, sometimes I do if I need to reference something, but most of the time I just keep moving. And oh my God, it's incredible. The growth and the change and the manifesting, and I just, I'm like, what? Yeah, it's really exciting. And I'm so glad that we have talked about turning it into a book, or at least the process of it and typing it up, because it's forced me to go back and look at it and reread it and whatnot. And I'm like, my God, I never imagined, and how much has come to fruition.
Yeah, like your 300 sort of
Yes.
list kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's been, a really exciting kind of thing that's been going on. And, and I pulled myself out pretty quickly, but you know how sometimes when there's momentum and there's movement and you feel some resistance, or like the wound comes up or whatever. And it's interesting because that happened. And I said to myself, oh, that means I have to completely start from square one. And all this work that I've done, and I had a moment. I did. I had a moment where I was like, I'm undoing it. Like I have a mess here. And then I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. This is some repair work to do. There's some healing to do.
Right.
And I don't have to receive everything. I can do it in bits and pieces and it will be okay. But I've laid the groundwork for this project. I've laid the groundwork for myself. I have so much already in place that I know I will and can move forward. And it was incredible how quickly I was able to turn that around, because even a year ago, I don't
Mm.
know if I would have been at that place, but today I'm just like, not true, not true, not true, 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 true. Right? Like what's amazing what happens with growth work.
Ah,
It's amazing how quickly I can just, I spiral and then I can quickly come out of the spiral.
yeah, you have. I'm getting that you have like insight about yourself,
Yes,
and
so
you're
much
able to
insight.
utilize that to be like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Okay, I see what's happening here. You know?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Both that you two have, and thanks for sharing what witness meditation is for you
Mm,
two.
mm-hmm,
Um, and then to see the fruit of that in typing it all back up and seeing, like now in real time, what might have been called upon back then
mm-hmm.
to manifest the now. Like, that's very life affirming to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I hold with you too. Like, I know, I think when I got triggered earlier this week, there's this, I want to say it's a Buddhist saying, but I'd have to find out. But like the idea of like the trigger is like the first arrow, like to the heart, but then our judgment of it is like the second arrow. Like
Mm,
we have control over that second arrow. And I had all this compassion when I got triggered, but there was this one voice in my head that was like, really? This again? You're triggered by this again? Like, shouldn't we be over this by now? Right? And it's like such a fantasy to be like, oh, one of your core wounds, it came up again. Like, something's wrong with you. Wait, what? No. And it took, I have great coach friends who were like, wait, like this sounds like a fantasy that you think you should be over this forevermore, that it'll never come up. But that was the second arrow. That one actually hurt more than the actual trigger.
mm,
Was my, in-depth psychology, like disrupting my emotional sequence,
mm.
not accepting it, not just like riding the wave of it, but being like, really? This? Minimizing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm watching that part of me that thinks I should have mastered anything.
Ah, isn't that hilarious? It's
Yes.
so funny because I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, Heidi, really? This again? Come on. Yeah.
And it's never this again because I think, it's not like you're just running in circles. I
No.
do believe healing has that upward spiral of energy,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, oh, at this level of consciousness, I could heal this.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grow and I come up that like spiral staircase, looks like the same spot, but I'm at a different place.
Right.
So I'm healing a different layer or a different part of it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
never like, oh my God, I'm here again. Like,
Right. Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's funny how that voice, I was like, oh my gosh, traitor. Like, who is this? Who is this person who's going to beat me up when I already feel down?
Mm, yeah.
Right? Just noticing, like, as you said, like being like untrue and naming it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it's untrue, it feels really bad to me.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
You know? Yeah. That for
Hmm.
me is like kind of where the birth of shame comes in, is like when I'm already beat up and then I'm beating myself up, just learning not to do that. And I don't do it often, but it was a surprise to
Mm.
see that part of me that got judgy about this trigger. You're 41. It's coming up again. Like, haven't we done work on this? All of that. And it's like, no, it's coming up. Another part of it's ready to be healed. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. Freeing up space.
Freeing up space. Yes.
It's like
Yes,
wanting to
yes,
invite
yes to
more,
that.
wanting to invite more goodness into your life. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, the old furniture has to go.
Yes. That smelly pillow, throw it out.
Whose t-shirt is this anyway? You know?
Oh, oh.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and if I can see it through that lens of like the
Oh,
divine making space for me, for good things to come in,
I love that.
it's worth the honest work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Ah, yes. Yes to breathing. Oh my gosh. Mm, this was lovely again. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Mm,
I feel touched and I feel connected and I feel, I don't know, the comfort of our shared humanity. You know, feels
yeah,
really, yeah, feels really sweet to me.
to me too. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
mm, yay. Let me see if I can. There we go.